Today, we're diving into the topic of aggression, exploring its different forms and how it develops from childhood through adolescence. This presentation is based on the insightful work of Marion K. Underwood. As you can see from the image of children in a classroom, aggression often plays out in everyday settings like schools, where peer interactions shape much of this behavior. I'm excited to take you through the key concepts and findings on this important subject. Let's get started. In this presentation, we'll explore the topic of aggression across different stages of childhood and adolescence. We'll begin by defining aggression and its various subtypes, then look at how gender influences aggressive behavior. We'll examine physical aggression during the preschool years and its origins, followed by the developmental consequences that can arise. Next, we'll discuss social aggression in preschool children, then move into physical and social aggression during middle childhood. We'll also look at patterns of physical and social aggression in adolescence. Finally, we'll cover prevention and intervention strategies and highlight some pressing research questions in this field. This overview will help guide us through the detailed discussion ahead. Here, we're looking at the core criteria that define aggression. For behavior to be considered aggressive, the person must intend to cause harm, and the victim has to actually feel hurt, whether that harm is physical, like hitting, or social, like exclusion or bullying. Understanding these elements is crucial because it helps us identify when aggression is truly taking place. Now, aggression isn't one-dimensional. We break it down into two main types. First, reactive aggression. This is the angry, impulsive kind. It happens in the heat of the moment, like when someone lashes out after being provoked. On the other hand, instrumental aggression is much more deliberate, calculated, and serves a purpose. It's aimed at achieving a specific social goal, like gaining status or control. The image here shows a typical scene in a school setting, reminding us that aggression often happens among peers in everyday social environments. This context is especially important when studying development, as these interactions shape how children learn to manage conflict and social challenges. On this slide, we're looking at how aggression varies between genders, focusing on two types, physical and social aggression. Starting with physical aggression, boys and men tend to show more of this behavior compared to girls and women. These differences start to become noticeable in the preschool years when children begin interacting more with their peers and often separate themselves into gender-based groups. However, it's important to recognize that some girls do engage in physical aggression and face similar risks as boys. When we turn to social aggression, the picture is less clear. Traditional views might suggest that girls use social aggression more often, but research shows that these gender differences are generally small and inconsistent. Instead, gender seems to play a bigger role in shaping how social aggression happens and the ways peers respond to it, rather than how often it occurs. So, while boys and girls may be equally aggressive socially, the underlying social processes and peer interactions can differ significantly. Physical aggression often begins very early, typically around the second year of life. During this toddler stage, behaviors like pushing, biting, and hitting are quite common. As children grow from age 2 through 9, their aggression follows one of 5 distinct paths. Almost half of them display very low aggression, about a quarter show low levels, while some have moderate but declining aggression, and a smaller portion maintain moderate or even high aggression levels. Importantly, for most kids, we see a normative decline in physical aggression as they mature. This decline means that while some children show stable or decreasing aggression, only a small percentage continue with persistently high aggression. Recognizing these patterns is crucial because it helps us identify which children might benefit from early intervention to support healthier social development. The image here of children relaxing together reflects this key developmental period we're focusing on. On this slide, we're looking at the origins and explanations behind physical aggression in children. First, genetic influences are significant, accounting for about 60% of the variability in physical aggression. Research also points to specific genetic factors, like low MAOA enzyme activity, which can increase the likelihood of violent behavior, particularly in children who have experienced maltreatment. Next, temperament plays a crucial role. Traits such as fearlessness, poor self-regulation, and irritability are early indicators that can predispose a child to aggressive behavior. These characteristics often become apparent early in life, and set the stage for how children respond to their environments. Parenting is another key factor. Harsh and coercive parenting styles, characterized by low sensitivity and physical discipline, tend to predict higher levels of aggression and externalizing problems. However, it's important to note that cultural context can influence how these parenting methods impact children. Finally, we see gender and peer socialization shaping aggression differently for boys and girls. Boys are often socialized by parents and peers to be more physically aggressive, with rough play increasing aggressive tendencies. On the other hand, girls generally learn to inhibit physical aggression through social expectations. The image of a parent gently comforting a child here reminds us that early caregiving and emotional support can be powerful influences, potentially buffering against the development of aggressive behaviors. On the left, we see that young children who show high levels of physical aggression often struggle with their peers early on. They tend to be rejected by other children and are perceived as hostile or aggressive by their teachers. This peer difficulties make it harder for them to build positive social relationships during those crucial preschool years. Moving to the right side, these early aggressive behaviors can lead to more serious challenges in school and social settings as the child grows. Kids who continue to display high aggression often avoid going to school, experience lower academic success, and face ongoing behavior problems by the time they reach third grade. However, it's important to note that children whose aggressive behaviors decrease by age 5 typically do not face these negative outcomes. The playground image helps us picture the setting where many of these early behaviors and interactions take place, reminding us how important early social experiences are for a child's development. Here, we're looking at how social aggression starts quite early in a child's life, often as young as age 3. This includes actions like excluding others from activities, saying no to invitations, or controlling who gets to play within a group. These behaviors can really impact how children relate to one another and form friendships. Research has shown that although some level of social aggression is normal, there is a particular group of children whose aggressive behaviors increase noticeably between ages 4 and 6. This uptick might signal deeper social challenges that need attention. The image here helps us see this dynamic in action. Children interacting around a foosball table, where social inclusion and exclusion can play out in real time. It's a vivid example of how these early social behaviors manifest and affect group interactions during the preschool years. Here we see the developmental patterns of physical aggression during middle childhood. The first key point is that most children show a decreasing trend in physical aggression as they move through the elementary school years. This indicates that, generally, aggressive behaviors tend to decline during this stage of development. However, the second important point is that there is a subgroup of children who continue to display high levels of physical aggression, and in fact, their aggressive behaviors increase over time. This highlights significant individual differences among children. Recognizing these distinct trajectories is crucial, because it helps us identify which children might be at greater risk and guides us in designing targeted interventions to address their needs effectively. The image here reflects the social and interactive environment where these behaviors often play out. Here we're looking at social aggression during middle childhood. For most kids, these behaviors tend to stay about the same or even decrease a bit as they grow. However, there is a significant group whose social aggression actually increases over time. This type of aggression can have serious consequences, especially when it comes to how children relate to their peers. It often leads to peer rejection or puts them in what's called a controversial social status, where they get mixed feedback from others, sometimes accepted, sometimes not. Beyond the social challenges, these kids can also experience emotional struggles like loneliness and depression. Understanding these patterns is crucial because social aggression doesn't just affect friendships. It can impact children's overall emotional well-being as they develop. Here we see the development of physical aggression across adolescence, mapped out by age from 11 to 18. The chart reveals 4 distinct patterns. First, there's the no aggression group, where individuals maintain a consistently low level of aggression throughout these years. Next, the increasing aggression group shows a gradual rise in aggression that peaks around mid-adolescence before declining. The third pattern, persistent high aggression, represents a smaller but critical group whose aggression remains high and relatively stable over time. Finally, the adolescent aggression group peaks in mid-adolescence and then tapers off. These patterns are important because serious youth violence often originates during adolescence and tends to be linked with negative outcomes like dropping out of school, substance abuse, and difficulties in relationships. Recognizing these trajectory groups helps us tailor interventions and prevention strategies to better support youth at different stages and risk levels. Understanding this progression allows us to address aggression early and reduce its harmful impact as teens mature. As adolescents navigate their social worlds, social aggression tends to increase in frequency and takes on new forms like gossip, exclusion, and manipulating friendships or romantic relationships. This kind of behavior is closely linked to perceived popularity, meaning teens may use social aggression as a way to gain or hold onto social status within their peer groups. However, the effects are not just social. Engaging in social aggression is also connected to internal struggles such as loneliness and depression, as well as external behaviors that can be problematic. This shows just how complex and impactful social aggression can be during this critical stage of development. Here we focus on prevention and intervention strategies to address aggressive behaviors in youth. On the left, you'll see two main categories. First, the physical aggression programs, which include a variety of approaches such as stimulant medication, parent management training, the good behavior game, and several specialized curricula and therapeutic programs like PATHS and Fast Track. These are all designed to reduce physical aggression through a combination of medical, behavioral, and therapeutic methods. Then we have the social aggression prevention program, which targets social forms of aggression by enhancing empathy, fostering positive leadership, and teaching conflict resolution skills. This program is delivered through school-based group interventions, making it accessible and relevant to students' everyday environments. Together, these programs represent a comprehensive approach, combining medical, educational, and therapeutic strategies to effectively prevent and intervene in both physical and social aggression. The image here shows a classroom setting, highlighting the school as a key environment where many of these interventions take place. Here, we highlight three pressing research questions crucial for advancing our understanding of aggression. First, we need more research that integrates biological and psychosocial factors, using complex models to better capture how aggression develops over time. Next, it's essential to focus on developmental processes, specifically how social interactions unfold during episodes of aggression, and how these dynamics influence behavior in real time. Finally, we must explore gender and aggression dynamics more deeply, looking at how boys and girls experience and express social aggression differently. Addressing these questions will help us design more effective interventions and support systems tailored to the unique needs of young people.